I'm Heidi Larson. I'm a professor of anthropology, and I'm director of the Vaccine Confidence Project at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. I recently published a book with Oxford University Press in their popular science track called Stuck, How Vaccine Rumors Start and Why They Don't Go Away. I ended up calling it Stuck because it kind of plays with the stuck like being injected with a vaccine, but more importantly, the book is about stuck in the conversation between scientists and the public and different modes, different emotions versus data, but it's much more about the relationship between science, health authorities, and the public. The book was inspired, well, almost about 15 years ago, actually. I started thinking about it because I had been leading global immunization strategy and communications for UNICEF, and we were starting to introduce a number of new vaccines. And during that period, I saw more and more kind of outbreaks of rumors and from small communities to even some governments questioning and refusing, in some cases. A governor in one of the states in Nigeria refused the polio vaccine. There was kind of an epidemic of smaller ones, and I thought something's going on here. We've always had rumors, but there were multiple ones. So I thought, being an anthropologist, I was very curious about learning more about these, and I left the UN and went back to academia, initially at Harvard and Clark University, and then came to set up the Vaccine Confidence Project here I brought together a real mix of researchers, and the book is very much drawn from the 10, 15 years of both frontline experiences and stories, as well as a lot of our research as a group, which I've got a psychologist, epidemiologist, anthropologist, modelers, digital media, social media analysts, and we're all bringing different types of investigation into these different stories and also the global spread of the stories. Well, the last chapter of the book is called Pandemics and Publics, and I had written it before COVID started, and I had written that we weren't ready for the next pandemic. But fortunately, the book was just moving from the editor to production when COVID hit. So it gave me an opportunity to write a 1,500, 700, 1,700 word prologue talking about why the book was so relevant to the current environment. This is before even the vaccine discussions started. But many of the issues in the book about the underlying anxieties, anger, distrust that's going on in the public, in some parts of the public, before even COVID hit, has unfortunately, instead of being tamed by a really threatening and fatal virus that one would think would make people who question vaccines want them, it's kind of done the opposite, which is surprising in a way and not surprising in other ways. A lot of the mandates around social distancing and masks that have erupted into protests are teaming up with the anti-vaccine group. On the other hand, there are many people that the emotion of hope is very big in some populations. We read a lot about the anti-sentiments, but actually there are a lot of people who are very eager to get a vaccine. So it's, I think the stories in the book, the I think if the healthcare profession, if both sides can read the book or glance at it, I tried to make it, even though it was a decade of research, I tried to make it in a language and accessible enough that diverse group of people could read it, hopefully to get a little more understanding on the other side. Because health professionals are as frustrated as some members of the public for different reasons. And they've come to a bit of a crescendo. And I think with a bit more understanding of what the other side is going through, if there's any patience to do that, would help in building the kind of confidence we need, mutual confidence, to achieve any kind of herd immunity with the COVID vaccine. One of the things we're looking at as a team is specifically investigating what is the impact of a piece of misinformation. And in our very recent research, we have seen that it actually does have a significant impact on people's willingness to take a vaccine. So even if the anti and refusing um, people, when it comes to a COVID vaccine, are not the majority of the public, all it takes is a small section of the population to refuse and keep us under herd immunity. So we need to look at this as a tipping point phenomena, not who has more people, because we need, say, probably around 65% of the population vaccinated with a COVID vaccine, 65 to 70, depending on which vaccine. And for example, if 60% of the population want it and are in there, but 10%, are uncertain. So we'll see what they do. There's going to be some who can't take the vaccine because of underlying immune. And then we get this anti-group that comes in and undermines, even if they bring the 60% is already low. But if you follow my point, is that it can just tip us enough under herd immunity that it can have a much bigger difference. Oh, social media plays a huge role. I mean, I think some people forget that Facebook only opened its doors in 2006. So all of these social media entities and opportunities, platforms, started in the course of writing this book. So that's been actually a fascinating journey. And part of the thread of the book is about the impact of this new technology on this phenomena and how it's exacerbated it. It's also been a tremendous forum for bringing people together. If you look at where we would be in lockdown for this extended period of time without some of the opportunities to socialize, as it were, online, um, it would be tough. I mean, it's tough enough, but without that kind of opportunity to have some kind of social contact, as limited as it is, it certainly has its values. But some people have used those networks to spread incredibly not just wrong and kind of hesitant, but damaging and particularly fatal rumors. So that's been a real problem, but it's also used to organize people. It's not just an information vehicle, it's an organizational tool. So people can organize these massive protests from very remote places. You can have flash protests because of the phenomena of social media. And that's been another challenge in some settings, particularly when, like, some of these rave parties that, you don't know where they are until the kind of last minute, and then boom. And you couldn't do that in the same way pre-social media that you can now. So it has its assets, but it also can create super spreader effects when it comes to how it can organize people. The negative and rumor phenomena is absolutely global. There really is the nature and maybe impact of them is different, but the kind of rumors and perceptions that you see across Europe are absolutely in Africa and India and other parts of the world. They're played out. They may, in some cases, they travel faster. In some cases, they organize differently. But there's nothing unique in the rumor and anti-vaccine sentiments around the case of COVID. They're around different vaccines, it's a bit different, but in this current environment, there's no corner of the world that does not have some level of rumor and resistant strategies. One of the challenges in Africa is that there are a number of people that don't even believe it exists, that it's something else. It's imposed by the West or the wealthier countries to make money off of the vaccines. But you hear some of those same rumors circulating in Europe and the US. So for different reasons, distrust of authority. It's become quite ubiquitous in the context of COVID. Rumors by nature mean an unverified piece of information. And in the context of COVID, there's a lot we don't know that even the scientists don't know. So it's very dangerous to be deleting things that seem like rumors when they're quite ambiguous and we really don't know. There are certain rumors like drinking bleach is not going to cure COVID, and it's outright dangerous. It could kill you. So things like that are clearly established and harmful fact, I think can legitimately be not just debunked, but removed. But I think that there's a lot of other ambiguity that we have to be careful with what we delete. But in terms of your question, how do we change the landscape? I often say that we don't have a misinformation problem, we have a relationship problem. And I think where we need to work on that really is in the relationship, because people, we should be looking at why do people believe these rumors? And it's deep distrust, it's anxiety, it's a feeling that their other health needs or life needs are not being met. They feel marginalized. I think we need to really start looking at these underlying factors and not just keep, as they say, clipping the heads off the weeds without dealing with the roots.